More than 120,000 people visit this zoo every year. They're attracted by exotic species like tigers and rhinos, and they're reassured that the zoo has conservation at its heart. But tonight we can reveal an uncomfortable truth. Some of the animals here at Noah's Ark are on loan from a controversial circus. You may find some of the images in our report upsetting. With its exotic animals and emphasis on conservation and education, Noah's Ark Zoo Farm just outside Bristol looks a pretty fun day out. But hiding behind the family-friendly image is a secret that will shock the zoological community.
Now, this is Tanvir. He's one of our male tigers, and he's
In June this year, visitors were treated to big cats for the first time. Bengal tigers, Tanvir, Kushka and Tyra. The zoo claimed they'd come from a private collection in the east of England. What they didn't say was that the collector is the owner of the Great British Circus, which uses tigers in its shows. Acting on a tip-off, the campaign group Captive Animals Protection Society, or CAPS, sent a researcher to work undercover as a volunteer at Noah's Ark. In this secretly filmed conversation, the researcher has told the zoo's education officer what another volunteer has said about the zoo's camels.
I thought the idea was to not let anybody know they were circus camels personally. I think if they do tricks, it might be a bad thing.
Well, I haven't told anyone that they were. Some woman said to me earlier, where'd you get the camels from? I said, I don't know, they've been here longer than me. So presumably they're semi-trained.
They'll probably stand on a stool and things like that.
So that's the camels, but what about the tigers? The researcher asked the zoo's owner, Anthony Bush, to see if he'll come clean to a member of his own staff.
So the tigers that are here, that live here now, did they come from that circus?
You don't want to know where they come from.
Why not?
Because I don't want to burden you with information which isn't necessary.
You what?
I don't want to burden you with information that isn't necessary.
Oh, right, oh, OK, all right.
Mr Bush is even keeping the tiger's owner a secret from BIAZA, the British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Not telling BIAZA might cost Noah's Ark its membership.
All I'm telling anybody, BIAZA, anywhere else, is they came from private collection.
You're telling BIAZA they came from private collection? Right.
Because it's for the country.
OK.
So, if you know they came from private collection, you can tell whoever you like they came from private
Without lying?
Without telling them the lies.
OK.
But it soon emerges the tigers are not just on loan. They're here as part of a breeding arrangement in which the cubs will be returned to the circus owner.
They're kind of on loan, I think, so we would have to send the offspring.
Right, oh I see. So Anthony's keeping them here for breeding and then any offspring is going back. Yeah, he said that about the camels actually.
Which that's nobody knows that.
Of course not, no. No.
There are select few people who I've told at home and you're just like, Mum, don't say anything.
Yeah.
A week after this conversation, an inside-out camera films a blue van arriving at the tiger enclosure. Its cargo, a new breeding male called Khan. The official line from the zoo is that he has come from the same private collection. But look what we've found, a promotional video from the Great British Circus showing the same tiger in action.
Khan, sit, good boy.
Also making an appearance is the circus owner and tiger trainer Martin Lacey. He's the private collector from whom Noah's Ark has been getting its tigers. He insists none of the zoo tigers have ever performed in his show.
Over 183 MPs last year signed an early day motion calling for a ban on the use of wild animals in circuses. And it's a well-known fact that the majority of the public do not agree with big animals, wild animals, being used in circuses. So they should be equally surprised and shocked that the circus is sending these animals to be bred by the zoo and that the zoo is accepting and perpetuating this cycle.
Back in June, when the tigers arrived at Noah's Ark, one of them, Tyra, was pregnant. She gave birth to 4 cubs, 3 of which were stillborn. This cub died 4 weeks later.
Mum, there's one standing up this.
This is Tyra 5 days after giving birth. 6 days later, she died. The CAP's researcher discovers that instead of handing the carcass over to veterinary authorities to be incinerated, Noah's Ark has taken other action.
Why did the owner want the head?
He wanted the skull and feet.
And look what's hiding in a freezer.
This is the head of the mother tiger. It doesn't actually look like a head.
In another freezer, the researcher discovers the body of one of the tiger cubs, along with a dead hedgehog and what looks like someone's supper. Meanwhile, the mother tiger's body has been skinned. It has also been buried. This is illegal, something the zoo has been told by the government's animal health department.
Yeah, you're not actually allowed. Well, the carcass is buried, but you're not legally allowed to bury anything on your own land.
Because of DEFRA, right?
People ignore it for pets. Technically not allowed to, but just ignore it. But like fallen livestock and things like that, you're not supposed to put in a hole. But, in the blind ice and like injury, and you just have to pretending that I didn't hear buried.
We show all the findings to an expert on wild animals at Bristol University.
What do you think?
I think it's pretty appalling, actually.
What's appalled you the most?
I think the way they're ignoring health and safety rules on disposal of carcasses, and the fact they are just cutting out carcasses willy-nilly and storing them in freezers. Just unbelievable, really.
We also go back to Noah's Ark and discover that since learning of our investigation, Anthony Bush has taken the carcass out of the ground. But why did he bury it in the first place?
Actually, I knew that farmers were allowed to bury their pets. I knew the definition of a pet. And I hoped that because I didn't bury it on the zoo premises, it was on the farm. And so we could get away with it because I wanted an educational exhibit. Because a cat skeleton, big cat skeleton, is amazing. That's what I did.
Why was the decision taken to keep Tira's head in the freezer here? Well, for what purpose was that done?
Well, it isn't actually mine. That's the problem, the tiger, because it's on loan. And so none of the body is mine. So it's now gone off to the owner. But I tell you what I would do with it. I would just take all the meat off and display it as a wonderful skull and a wonderful exhibit.
Well, it seems very strange. They're more interested in saving bits than actually doing a proper post-mortem. And I'm not quite sure why you want to keep bits of this animal. A skin seems a bit tacky to me. And what the educational value or any of the benefits you're going to get from some feet and skull of an animal that's died in captivity? I don't see any value to that whatsoever.
Is it true that some of the cats on exhibit here have been in the circus? Is that true?
Oh, it's certainly true, because a huge number of animals, particularly elephants, around zoos have all come from circuses. Circus is actually a very good place to get your animals from.
Isn't breeding circus animals at odds with what a zoo should be doing?
Well, I'm not giving my tigers back to a circus. I'm giving them to a private breeder. And the private breeder may do stuff for circuses, but I know he also does things for zoos. And he does things for people who just want to breed tigers. I know a private breeding collection who just breeds tigers, and he takes tigers from this private collector. And so it's a wider brief than you think there is.
So is your view that if this private collector chooses to put the tigers you send back into the circus, that's really none of your concern?
I've got to be happy that if they go into the circus, they're not going to be badly treated. And I've seen them, and I think they're brilliantly treated.
I think Bialsa should look at this very carefully, and investigate this zoo, see the way it's run, and decide whether they really want it as a member of their organisation or not.
We contacted the British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums and were told in a statement,
Bialsa is investigating the allegations made towards Noah's Ark Zoo Farm and is unable to comment further at this stage.
And if there's something you think we should be investigating, then why not get in touch? You can contact me in confidence at my email address. It's josie@bbc.co.uk.